This dizzying acceleration of change has been given a name: hypernovelty. The term, coined by evolutionary biologist Dr. Brett Weinstein and his wife, evolutionary biologist and parasitologist Heather Heying, describes the unprecedented rate of innovation that characterizes the 21st century. We are, they argue, living in an age where the rate of change exceeds our species' ability to adapt at a biological and psychological level. Imagine a world where the ground beneath your feet is constantly shifting, where familiar landmarks disappear overnight, and the rules of the game change without warning. This is the essence of hypernovelty, a state of constant flux that leaves us feeling ungrounded and disoriented. Our brains, shaped by millennia of evolution in a world of relative stability, are ill-equipped to navigate this relentless torrent of information and innovation. Our ancient wiring, adapted for a slower, more predictable pace of life, struggles to keep up with the demands of this hypernovel world. The consequences of this mismatch are profound, impacting our mental health, our relationships, and our very understanding of the world around us. We are, in a sense, living in a world that our brains were not designed to comprehend, struggling to make sense of a reality that seems to be constantly evolving before our eyes. To understand the impact of hypernovelty, we must first acknowledge the evolutionary context in which our brains developed. For the vast majority of human history, change occurred slowly, gradually. Generations passed with minimal alterations to the environment, social structures, or the challenges humans faced. This relative stability allowed for the development of cognitive mechanisms finely tuned to a specific set of circumstances. Our ancestors, living in small hunter-gatherer groups, relied on their deep understanding of their local environment and social dynamics to survive. They developed intricate social structures, communication patterns, and belief systems that served them well for millennia. Their world, while often challenging, was predictable in its rhythms and dangers. The advent of agriculture, approximately 10,000 years ago, marked a significant turning point in human history. It led to sedentary lifestyles, larger populations, and the development of complex societies. While this transition ushered in a new era of human progress, it also marked the beginning of a growing disconnect between our evolved biology and the rapidly changing world we were creating. This evolutionary mismatch, the gap between our ancient hardware and the demands of our modern software, lies at the heart of the challenges posed by hypernovelty. We are, in essence, running 21st century software on Stone Age hardware, and the consequences are becoming increasingly apparent. The symptoms of our struggle to adapt to hypernovelty are all around us. Rates of anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues are soaring, particularly among younger generations who have never known a world without the constant stimulation of the digital age. Social media, while offering the allure of connection, often exacerbates feelings of inadequacy and loneliness. We compare our lives to the curated highlight reels of others, leading to feelings of envy, dissatisfaction, and a distorted sense of reality. The deluge of information available at our fingertips, while potentially empowering, can also be paralyzing. We are bombarded with conflicting narratives, making it difficult to discern truth from falsehood, fact from fiction. This information overload can lead to a state of learned helplessness, where we feel overwhelmed and powerless to make sense of the world around us. Furthermore, the rapid pace of technological advancement, while promising solutions to some of humanity's most pressing challenges, also presents novel threats. Artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and nanotechnology have the potential to reshape our world in profound ways, but they also carry inherent risks, from job displacement and economic inequality to the potential for misuse in the wrong hands. The concept of hypernovelty, while relatively new to the public lexicon, has been brewing in the minds of evolutionary biologists and cultural commentators for some time. Dr. Brett Weinstein, a former evolutionary biology professor at Evergreen State College, and his wife Heather Heying, an evolutionary biologist and parasitologist, are credited with popularizing the term. Through their work, including their book A Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century, Evolution and the Challenges of Modern Life. They have brought the challenges of hypernovelty into sharp focus. Weinstein and Haing argue that the rate of cultural and technological change has outpaced the rate of biological evolution, creating a mismatch between our ancient brains and the demands of the modern world. This mismatch, they contend, is at the root of many of the challenges we face today, from mental health issues to political polarization. Their work builds upon a foundation laid by earlier thinkers, such as futurist Alvin Toffler, who, in his 1970 book Future Shock, explored the psychological and social consequences of rapid technological and social change. Toffler argued that the accelerating pace of change was leading to a sense of disorientation and overload, which he termed future shock. Hypernovelty, in essence, can be seen as an intensification of the trends Toffler identified. If future shock was the initial jolt of a society accelerating into the unknown, hypernovelty is the sustained G-force, pinning us to our seats as the world around us transforms at an ever-increasing rate. To grasp the profound implications of hypernovelty, we must delve into the heart of evolutionary biology. Evolution, in its simplest form, is an arms race between an organism and its environment. Organisms that possess traits advantageous to survival and reproduction in a given environment are more likely to pass those traits on to their offspring. Over countless generations, this process of natural selection can lead to the development of remarkable adaptations, from the camouflage of a chameleon to the echolocation of a bat. These adaptations, however, are finely tuned to specific environments and ways of life. When an environment changes rapidly, organisms adapted to the old environment may find themselves ill-equipped to survive in the new. Human evolution has been marked by periods of relative stability, punctuated by bursts of rapid change. The development of bipedalism, the expansion of the human brain, and the advent of language were all transformative events that allowed our ancestors to thrive in new and challenging environments. However, these changes occurred over vast stretches of time, allowing for gradual adaptation. The challenge we face today is that the rate of cultural and technological change has accelerated exponentially, far outpacing the rate of biological evolution. We are, in essence, attempting to adapt to a world that is changing faster than our genes can keep up. The human brain is a marvel of plasticity, capable of remarkable feats of learning and adaptation. This plasticity, the ability of the brain to rewire itself in response to new experiences, is what has allowed us to thrive in a wide range of environments and to develop complex cultures and technologies. However, this plasticity is not without its limits. While our brains are capable of adapting to new information and experiences, there are certain fundamental aspects of our biology and psychology that are deeply rooted in our evolutionary past. These include our basic needs for social connection, our innate fear of threats, and our tendency to seek patterns and meaning in the world around us. In the hyper-novel environment of the 21st century, these deeply ingrained tendencies can lead to maladaptive behaviors. Our constant exposure to social media, for example, can trigger feelings of inadequacy and social comparison, even as it provides us with unprecedented opportunities for connection. Our innate fear of threats can be exploited by those seeking to sow division and fear, leading to political polarization and social unrest. The paradox of plasticity is that while it allows us to adapt to a wide range of circumstances, it also makes us vulnerable to manipulation and exploitation. In a world of hyper-novelty, where the information landscape is constantly shifting and the lines between reality and simulation are increasingly blurred, our plasticity can work against us as easily as it can work for us. The consequences of hyper-novelty manifest in myriad ways, both subtle and profound. On a personal level, many of us experience a sense of unease, a feeling that something is not quite right. We feel overwhelmed by the constant barrage of information, anxious about the future, and disconnected from ourselves and the world around us. Our relationships suffer as we struggle to connect with others in a meaningful way. Social media, while offering the illusion of connection, often exacerbates feelings of loneliness and isolation. We compare our lives to the carefully curated online personas of others, leading to feelings of inadequacy and envy. Our work lives are increasingly characterized by instability and uncertainty. Automation and globalization have led to widespread job displacement, and the gig economy, while offering flexibility, often comes at the expense of job security and benefits. The traditional boundaries between work and home have blurred, leaving us feeling constantly on call and struggling to find a balance between our professional and personal lives. On a societal level, hypernovelty contributes to political polarization, social unrest, and a decline in trust in institutions. The rapid pace of change can lead to a sense of disorientation and anomie, a feeling that the old rules no longer apply and that there is no clear path forward. This can create fertile ground for extremism, as people grasp for simple answers in a world that feels increasingly complex and chaotic. The challenges posed by hypernovelty are significant, but they are not insurmountable. Recognizing the profound impact of this phenomenon is the first step towards developing strategies for navigating the hypernovel landscape. We must acknowledge that the world is changing at an unprecedented rate and that our institutions, social norms, and even our own biology are struggling to keep up. We must prioritize critical thinking and media literacy. In the age of information overload and social media echo chambers, it is more important than ever to be discerning consumers of information. We must learn to identify bias, evaluate sources, and think critically about the information we encounter. We must cultivate resilience and adaptability. The only constant in the hypernovel world is change. We must learn to embrace uncertainty, to be comfortable with ambiguity, and to adapt to new situations quickly. This requires developing a growth mindset, a belief that our abilities and intelligence are not fixed, but can be developed through effort and learning. We must foster genuine human connection. In a world increasingly mediated by technology, it is essential to prioritize face-to-face interactions, to build strong communities, and to nurture relationships based on empathy, respect, and understanding. We must remember that despite our differences, we are all in this together, navigating the uncharted waters of the 21st century. In an era defined by hypernovelty, it's easy to become fixated on the immediate and the obvious. Climate change, with its dire predictions of rising sea levels and extreme weather events, dominates headlines and fuels countless debates. While the urgency of addressing climate change is undeniable, Dr. Weinstein cautions against a kind of tunnel vision, a narrowing of focus that blinds us to other, potentially even more existential threats lurking on the horizon. We are, he argues, a species increasingly preoccupied with the terrestrial, our gaze fixed firmly on the problems of our own making here on Earth. This inward focus, while understandable, risks blinding us to the dangers emanating from beyond our atmosphere, from the vast and often unpredictable realm of space. Our sun, the lifeblood of our planet, is also a source of potential chaos, capable of unleashing forces that could cripple our technological civilization in an instant. Space weather, a term encompassing a range of phenomena stemming from the sun's activity, is often dismissed as the stuff of science fiction. Yet, as Dr. Weinstein points out, the threat posed by severe space weather events is anything but fictional. Coronal mass ejections, massive bursts of plasma and magnetic field from the sun's corona, have the potential to wreak havoc on our technology-dependent world, disrupting communication networks, knocking out power grids, and sending us hurtling back to a pre-electronic age. While the idea of a solar storm crippling civilization might seem like a far-fetched disaster movie plot, the historical record tells a different story. The Carrington event of 1859, a massive solar storm that unleashed the largest recorded geomagnetic storm on Earth, serves as a stark reminder of the sun's raw power and our vulnerability to its whims. The sun, a churning ball of superheated plasma, is a celestial dynamo, generating powerful magnetic fields that extend far out into space. These magnetic fields, constantly shifting and interacting, can give rise to a variety of phenomena, including solar flares and coronal mass ejections. Solar flares, sudden bursts of energy often associated with sunspots, release vast amounts of radiation, primarily in the form of X-rays and ultraviolet light. While intense, the impact of solar flares on Earth is relatively short-lived, primarily affecting radio communications and posing a radiation hazard to astronauts in high-altitude flights. Coronal mass ejections, on the other hand, are far more massive and potentially destructive events. Imagine 1 billion tons of superheated plasma carrying its own magnetic field, blasted into space at millions of miles per hour. That, in essence, is a CME. When a CME erupts from the sun, it can travel through space, sometimes directly towards Earth. If Earth is in the path of a CME, the results can be catastrophic. When a CME's magnetic field interacts with Earth's magnetic field, it can trigger a geomagnetic storm, a disturbance in our planet's protective magnetic bubble. This disturbance can induce powerful electric currents in long conductors, such as power grids, pipelines, and communication cables. These induced currents can overload systems, causing widespread blackouts, communication outages, and even damage to critical infrastructure. The severity of a geomagnetic storm's impact depends on a number of factors, including the strength of the CME, the orientation of its magnetic field relative to Earth's, and the preparedness of our infrastructure. In a worst-case scenario, a major geomagnetic storm could cripple power grids across continents, plunging entire regions into darkness, disrupting transportation, communication, and essential services. Adding another layer of concern to the threat posed by space weather is the weakening of Earth's magnetic field. This magnetic field, generated deep within our planet's core, acts as a shield, deflecting most of the sun's harmful radiation and protecting life on Earth from the full brunt of solar storms. However, this protective shield is not static. It fluctuates in strength and even reverses polarity over time. Scientists have observed a gradual weakening of Earth's magnetic field over the past few centuries, with a more rapid decline in recent decades. This weakening is thought to be related to processes occurring within Earth's core, specifically the movement of molten iron in the outer core, which generates the magnetic field. While the exact mechanisms driving these changes are not fully understood, the implications of a weakening magnetic field are significant. A weaker magnetic field means less protection from solar radiation and a greater susceptibility to the effects of geomagnetic storms. As the field weakens, the area shielded from the sun's radiation, known as the magnetosphere, contracts, allowing more charged particles from the sun to penetrate our atmosphere. This increased radiation can disrupt satellites, interfere with radio communications, and even pose a health risk to astronauts and passengers on high-altitude flights. The weakening magnetic field also means that future geomagnetic storms, even those of moderate intensity, could have more severe impacts on our technology and infrastructure. Power grids, already vulnerable to the effects of geomagnetic storms, could experience more frequent and widespread blackouts, potentially leading to cascading failures across interconnected systems. Adding another layer of complexity to the equation is the phenomenon of geomagnetic reversals, periods when Earth's magnetic poles flip, with north becoming south and south becoming north. These reversals are not uncommon in Earth's history. They have occurred numerous times over millions of years, as evidenced by the magnetic signatures preserved in ancient rocks. While scientists don't fully understand what triggers these reversals, they are thought to be related to the complex dynamics of Earth's core. As the molten iron flows within the outer core, it generates electric currents, which in turn create the magnetic field. Changes in the flow of this liquid iron can alter the strength and orientation of the magnetic field, eventually leading to a complete reversal of the poles. Geomagnetic reversals are not instantaneous events. They occur gradually over hundreds to thousands of years. During a reversal, the magnetic field weakens significantly and becomes more complex, with multiple poles emerging and disappearing. This weakened and erratic magnetic field provides less protection from solar radiation and increases our vulnerability to the effects of space weather. While there is no evidence to suggest that a geomagnetic reversal is imminent, the ongoing weakening of Earth's magnetic field and the movement of the magnetic North Pole have led some scientists to speculate that a reversal may be in our future, perhaps within the next few thousand years. If and when such a reversal occurs, it could have significant implications for life on Earth, potentially impacting everything from navigation and animal migration to the stability of our planet's atmosphere. The Carrington event of 1859 stands as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of a major solar storm. On September 1st of that year, a massive solar flare erupted from the sun, followed by a powerful coronal mass ejection that slammed into Earth's atmosphere just 17 hours later. The impact triggered the most intense geomagnetic storm ever recorded, causing widespread disruption of telegraph systems, the cutting-edge technology of the day. Telegraph operators reported sparks flying from their equipment, some receiving electric shocks, and telegraph paper catching fire. Auroras, typically only visible near the poles, were observed as far south as the Caribbean and Hawaii, lighting up the night sky with brilliant displays of color. The Carrington event, while disruptive, occurred at a time when human civilization was far less reliant on technology. Today, a similar event could have far more devastating consequences. Our interconnected world, heavily reliant on electricity, satellites, and global communication networks, is far more vulnerable to the disruptive effects of a major geomagnetic storm. A Carrington-level event today could knock out power grids across continents, potentially for weeks or even months, leading to cascading failures in essential services, economic disruption, and widespread social unrest. While the Carrington event serves as a stark warning from the past, it is not the only example of a significant space weather event impacting Earth. In 1989, a geomagnetic storm caused by a solar flare knocked out power to the entire province of Quebec, Canada for 9 hours, highlighting the vulnerability of modern power grids to even relatively minor solar storms. The threats posed by space weather, from solar flares and coronal mass ejections to the weakening of Earth's magnetic field and the possibility of a geomagnetic reversal, are not theoretical. They are real and present dangers that we ignore at our peril. Yet, despite the potential for catastrophic consequences, awareness of these threats remains relatively low, and preparedness efforts lag behind what is needed to mitigate the risks. Dr. Weinstein, along with other voices in the scientific community, argues for a more proactive approach to space weather preparedness. This includes investing in research to better understand and predict space weather events, hardening critical infrastructure to withstand the effects of geomagnetic storms, and developing contingency plans to ensure the continuity of essential services in the event of a major disruption. Hardening our power grid, for example, would involve upgrading transformers and other critical components to withstand the effects of geomagnetically induced currents. Contingency planning should include strategies for managing potential blackouts, ensuring the availability of backup power sources, and coordinating communication and emergency response efforts. Perhaps most importantly, raising public awareness about the threats posed by space weather is crucial. Just as we educate the public about earthquakes, hurricanes, and other natural disasters, we must also educate them about the potential risks of space weather and the steps they can take to prepare for such events. This includes understanding the potential impacts of a major solar storm, having a plan for communication and emergency preparedness, and knowing how to protect electronic devices from the effects of a geomagnetic storm. In a world grappling with the disorienting effects of hypernovelty, where the ground beneath our feet seems to shift daily, the need for stable, reliable sources of information has never been more crucial. We rely on institutions, the bedrock of any society, to provide a sense of order, to sift through the chaos and deliver accurate, unbiased information that allows us to make informed decisions about our lives. Yet, as Dr. Weinstein argues, It is precisely these institutions that are failing us, eroding the very foundations of trust upon which a functioning society depends. We find ourselves adrift in a sea of information, bombarded by a constant barrage of news, opinions, and data from every direction. The traditional gatekeepers of knowledge, once revered as bastions of objectivity and truth, have faltered, their credibility chipped away by a growing perception of bias, manipulation, and outright deceit. This erosion of trust has profound implications, leaving us vulnerable to manipulation, misinformation, and the seductive allure of simplistic answers in an increasingly complex world. This crisis of trust is not limited to any one institution. It permeates all levels of society, from the hallowed halls of academia to the newsrooms where information is disseminated to the public. The very systems designed to inform and enlighten us have become mired in a web of conflicting interests, ideological agendas, and a relentless pursuit of clicks, ratings, and profits that often come at the expense of truth and accuracy. Dr. Weinstein, drawing on his own experiences navigating the treacherous waters of academia and public discourse, offers a sobering assessment of the state of our institutions. He argues that we have entered an era of sense-making breakdown where our ability to collectively agree on basic facts, to engage in reasoned debate, and to trust the institutions that are supposed to guide us has been fundamentally compromised. The media, once envisioned as a powerful tool for informing the public and holding power to account, has become a labyrinth of conflicting narratives, often more concerned with shaping perceptions than reflecting reality. The rise of cable news, with its 24-hour news cycle and relentless pursuit of ratings, has fueled a culture of sensationalism, where nuance is sacrificed for emotional impact and complex issues are reduced to simplistic sound bites. The internet, while democratizing access to information, has also unleashed a torrent of misinformation, propaganda, and outright fabrication. Social media platforms designed to connect us have become echo chambers, reinforcing existing biases and making it increasingly difficult to distinguish between credible sources and purveyors of falsehoods. The traditional model of journalism, with its emphasis on objectivity and verification, has struggled to adapt to this rapidly evolving media landscape. News organizations, facing financial pressures and competition from a myriad of online sources, often prioritize speed over accuracy, publishing stories without adequate fact-checking or consideration of potential biases. This shift towards a more partisan, opinion-driven media landscape has eroded public trust in traditional news sources. A growing number of people, disillusioned by what they perceive as biased or inaccurate reporting, are turning to alternative sources of information, often found in the shadowy corners of the internet, where fact and fiction are easily blurred. Academia, long considered a sanctuary for free inquiry and the pursuit of knowledge, has not been immune to the forces eroding trust in institutions. The very structure of academia, with its specialized disciplines and emphasis on publishing within narrow fields of study, can create intellectual silos, limiting cross-disciplinary collaboration and fostering a culture of groupthink. Furthermore, the pressure to publish in prestigious journals, secure research funding, and achieve tenure can incentivize academics to pursue research that aligns with prevailing ideologies or supports the agendas of funding agencies. This can create a chilling effect on dissenting voices, particularly on controversial topics, as academics may self-censor or avoid pursuing research that challenges the status quo for fear of jeopardizing their careers. The rise of social media and the increasing polarization of society have further exacerbated these challenges. Academics, like everyone else, are susceptible to the echo chamber effect of social media, where they are primarily exposed to information and opinions that confirm their existing beliefs. This can lead to a reinforcement of biases and a reluctance to engage with opposing viewpoints. Dr. Weinstein's own experiences at Evergreen State College, where he faced backlash and calls for his resignation after criticizing a campus event that asked white people to leave campus for a day, illustrate the challenges of expressing dissenting views in today's academic climate. His case highlights the growing intolerance for intellectual diversity and the pressure to conform to prevailing ideologies within academia. Science, with its emphasis on empirical evidence, rigorous methodology, and the pursuit of objective truth, has long been held up as a beacon of rationality in a world often driven by emotion and ideology. Yet, even science, once considered immune to the vagaries of politics and personal beliefs, has become increasingly politicized, its findings distorted, manipulated, and cherry-picked to support pre-existing agendas. The COVID-19 pandemic, with its global reach and profound societal impacts, laid bare the extent to which science has become entangled with politics. From the origins of the virus to the efficacy of masks and vaccines, scientific findings were often presented through a partisan lens, with different factions seizing upon data points that supported their pre-existing views, while dismissing or downplaying contradictory evidence. This politicization of science has eroded public trust in scientific institutions and experts. The constant barrage of conflicting information, often presented with an air of certainty and authority, has left many feeling confused, skeptical, and unsure of whom or what to believe. Dr. Weinstein has been a vocal critic of what he sees as the suppression of dissenting scientific viewpoints, particularly regarding the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic and the potential benefits of early treatment protocols. He argues that the scientific community, rather than engaging in open and transparent debate, has too often circled the wagons, dismissing alternative perspectives and silencing those who dare to question the prevailing narrative. The erosion of trust in our institutions is a serious threat, undermining our ability to address the complex challenges facing humanity in the 21st century. Without a shared foundation of truth and accountability, it becomes increasingly difficult to engage in reasoned debate, to find common ground, and to work together to solve problems that affect us all. Reclaiming trust requires a multifaceted approach, one that addresses the systemic issues within institutions, while also empowering individuals to become more discerning consumers of information. We must demand transparency and accountability from those in positions of power, whether in government, media, or academia. Within the media, a renewed commitment to journalistic ethics, fact-checking, and balanced reporting is essential. Social media platforms must take responsibility for the spread of misinformation on their platforms, implementing measures to flag or remove false or misleading content while promoting media literacy among users. In academia, fostering a culture of intellectual diversity, open inquiry, and respectful debate is crucial. Institutions must protect the right of academics to express dissenting views without fear of reprisal, while encouraging interdisciplinary collaboration and the exploration of alternative perspectives. The rapid advancement of technology, while a hallmark of human ingenuity, has always carried a sense of both promise and peril. We marvel at the tools we create, their power to reshape our world and extend our reach, yet we also harbor a primal fear of these creations, a sense that they might one day surpass us, their creators, and turn on us with cold, calculated indifference. This fear, once relegated to the realm of science fiction, is now creeping into the forefront of our collective consciousness as artificial intelligence, once a distant dream, rapidly transforms from a tool to a potential rival. The allure of AI is undeniable. We envision a future where intelligent machines shoulder our burdens, automate mundane tasks, and unlock solutions to our most pressing problems. From self-driving cars that navigate our streets with precision to algorithms that diagnose diseases with uncanny accuracy, the potential benefits of AI seem limitless. Yet, beneath the gleaming surface of this technological revolution lurks a growing unease, a sense that we are summoning a force we may not fully comprehend, a genie whose wishes might not align with our own. Dr. Weinstein, ever attuned to the potential pitfalls of unbridled progress, sounds a cautionary note amidst the chorus of AI evangelists. He warns that while AI holds immense promise, it also poses existential risks, challenges that strike at the very heart of what it means to be human. He argues that we must proceed with caution, guided not by blind faith in technological progress, but by a sober assessment of the potential consequences, both intended and unintended, of unleashing an intelligence that could one day surpass our own. The challenge we face is not merely one of controlling rogue AI, the Hollywood trope of sentient machines turning on their creators. While such scenarios cannot be entirely dismissed, the more immediate and insidious threat lies in the subtle ways AI is already reshaping our world, eroding our autonomy, manipulating our perceptions, and challenging our understanding of truth, trust, and the very nature of intelligence itself. Intelligence, a concept both intuitive and elusive, has fascinated thinkers for centuries. We see it in human problem-solving, ant communication, and crows using tools. As we develop AI, defining true intelligence becomes crucial. AI excels at specific tasks, often surpassing human capabilities. However, this computational prowess is often mistaken for genuine intelligence. Dr. Weinstein warns against attributing human-like qualities to AI. AI lacks consciousness, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence. The real danger lies in overestimating AI's capabilities and ceding control over critical decisions. In an age of information overload, truth and trust are transforming. AI, while connecting us, also enables digital manipulation, blurring reality. Deepfakes, AI-generated videos, can manipulate public opinion and erode trust. AI-powered social media algorithms prioritize sensational content over facts. This creates a feedback loop, reinforcing biases and pushing extreme content. Dr. Weinstein argues that the erosion of truth is a societal issue, not just technological. Our susceptibility to manipulation and desire for simple answers make us vulnerable. As AI integrates into our lives, preserving humanity and autonomy is crucial. Dr. Weinstein doesn't advocate abandoning AI, but stresses a cautious approach. Education is paramount, equipping future generations with critical thinking and media literacy. Clear ethical guidelines and regulations for AI development are necessary. Addressing algorithmic bias and ensuring transparency in AI decision-making is essential. We must consider AI's societal impact, particularly job displacement and economic inequality. Reclaiming agency requires a shift in our relationship with technology. We must approach AI with humility, preserving human judgment and ethical reasoning. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed the dangers Dr. Weinstein warned about. It revealed the fragility of our systems and the vulnerability of our information ecosystem. Institutions struggled to respond effectively, facing criticism and polarization. Governments implemented measures that upended daily life and triggered economic turmoil. The pandemic exposed deep societal divisions and polarized debates. It was a crisis of information, trust, and governance. The foundations of our social contract seemed to crumble under fear and uncertainty. During the pandemic, a battle for control of the narrative raged online. Social media platforms became breeding grounds for misinformation and conspiracy theories. Algorithms amplified sensational content, creating confusion and distrust. Conspiracy theories flourished, eroding public trust in official sources. The pandemic highlighted the need for media literacy and critical evaluation of sources. Social media platforms must combat misinformation and promote informed public discourse. Science, with its pursuit of objective truth, is not immune to corruption. The COVID-19 pandemic showed how science could be co-opted for political agendas. The origins of the virus became a subject of intense speculation and geopolitical maneuvering. The lab leak theory gained traction, highlighting challenges in scientific inquiry. The politicization of science influenced debates over masks, lockdowns, and treatments. Scientific findings were often prematurely thrust into the public sphere. The nuances of scientific inquiry were lost in the rush to promote specific policies. The pandemic raised concerns over censorship and suppression of dissenting views. Social media platforms faced pressure to combat misinformation, leading to censorship. Dr. Weinstein criticized the suppression of alternative viewpoints within the scientific community. Censorship hinders scientific progress and erodes public trust. It discourages researchers from pursuing unorthodox lines of inquiry. The public is deprived of the opportunity to engage in informed debate. The pandemic highlighted the dangers of censorship for scientific discourse and public trust. Informed consent is crucial in pandemic policies, from masks to vaccines. Dr. Weinstein emphasized preserving individual autonomy in health decisions. Coercion undermines trust and can lead to resistance to public health measures. Informed consent requires accurate information and an environment for open dialogue. The pandemic reminded us that public health is about empowering individuals. Reclaiming informed consent requires rebuilding trust and promoting transparency. We stand at a pivotal moment in human history, facing significant challenges. Dr. Weinstein reminds us that these challenges are not insurmountable. We are at a crossroads, where our choices will determine our future. The path forward is ours to forge, guided by truth and reason. We must acknowledge the gravity of our situation and resist complacency. Critical thinking and diverse perspectives are essential. Change is neutral. Its impact depends on our choices and values. We must shape change to create a future where human ingenuity and compassion prevail. One of the most insidious consequences of hypernovelty, as Dr. Weinstein points out, is the increasing disconnect between our lived experience and the digital representations of reality that increasingly dominate our attention. We live in a world mediated by screens, our perceptions shaped by algorithms designed to maximize engagement, often at the expense of accuracy, nuance, or a grounded understanding of the world around us. This digital deluge, while offering unprecedented access to information and connection, also risks trapping us in echo chambers of our own making, where our biases are reinforced and our understanding of the world becomes increasingly distorted. Reclaiming our agency in this hyper-novel world requires a conscious effort to reforge our connection to reality, to ground ourselves in the tangible, the observable, the lived experience of being human. This means stepping away from the screens, silencing the digital noise, and re-engaging with the physical world, with nature, with our communities, with the simple, grounding rituals of daily life. It means prioritizing face-to-face interactions over online connections, seeking out opportunities for genuine human connection, and engaging in activities that nourish our bodies and souls. It means rediscovering the value of stillness, of observation, of contemplation. Practices that allow us to step outside the relentless churn of the hypernovel and reconnect with the deeper rhythms of our own being. This reconnection to reality is not about rejecting technology or retreating into a nostalgic past. It is about finding a balance, about using technology as a tool for empowerment rather than allowing it to become a substitute for lived experience. It is about recognizing that our humanity is not defined by our digital avatars or our online personas, but by our capacity for empathy, compassion, and our ability to navigate the complexities of the world around us with wisdom and grace. The challenges we face today, from climate change to technological disruption, to the erosion of trust in institutions, are complex, multifaceted, and unprecedented in human history. Addressing these challenges will require not only a shift in our own thinking and behavior, but also a concerted effort to empower the next generation with the knowledge, skills, and ethical frameworks necessary to navigate the complexities of the 21st century. Education, in its truest sense, is not about rote memorization or the acquisition of specialized knowledge. It is about cultivating critical thinking skills, fostering intellectual curiosity, and nurturing a love of learning that extends far beyond the confines of the classroom. It is about empowering young people to question assumptions, to think critically about the information they encounter, and to develop their own informed opinions. In an age of information overload and digital distraction, it is more important than ever to equip young people with the tools of media literacy, the ability to navigate the complex and often treacherous landscape of digital information, to evaluate sources critically, and to distinguish between fact and fiction, truth and manipulation. This requires teaching them to think critically about the information they encounter online, to identify bias and propaganda, and to be discerning consumers of digital content. Beyond critical thinking and media literacy, we must also instill in the next generation a strong ethical compass, a sense of responsibility for themselves, their communities, and the planet we share. This includes fostering empathy, compassion, and a deep respect for the interconnectedness of all living things. It means teaching them to think critically about the ethical implications of technological advancements, to consider the broader societal impacts of their choices, and to embrace a vision of progress that prioritizes human well-being and ecological sustainability. The challenges we face are daunting, but our capacity for hope, for innovation, and for collective action remains undimmed. Throughout human history, we have confronted moments of profound crisis, periods of darkness and uncertainty that tested the limits of our resilience and our belief in a better future. Yet, time and again, we have emerged from these trials, our spirits unbroken, our resolve strengthened, our collective wisdom deepened. The path forward, as Dr. Weinstein reminds us, is not about finding easy answers or clinging to simplistic solutions. It is about embracing complexity, acknowledging uncertainty, and recognizing that the solutions to the challenges we face are likely to be as multifaceted and interconnected as the challenges themselves. It is about fostering dialogue, encouraging collaboration across disciplines and ideologies, and recognizing that we are all in this together, sharing a common destiny on this fragile planet. Hope, in this context, is not a passive emotion, a naive belief that things will somehow work out on their own. It is an active choice, a commitment to action, a belief in our own agency to shape a better future. It is the spark of imagination that ignites innovation, the courage to challenge the status quo, the willingness to stand up for what we believe in, even in the face of adversity. The future is not something that simply happens to us. It is something we create day by day through our choices, our actions, and our unwavering belief in the possibility of a better world. The challenges are real, the stakes are high, but the potential for positive change remains within our grasp. Let us embrace this moment, not with fear or despair, but with a renewed sense of purpose, a shared commitment to action, and a tapestry of hope woven from the threads of our collective wisdom, compassion, and indomitable human spirit. So now we want to hear from you. What's one change we could make, right now, to steer humanity in a better direction? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's learn from each other. Like this message? Smash that like button and share it with someone who needs hope right now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell so you never miss these critical conversations. Experience, explore, engage.